Hi, Casey. I hope you're well. I just wanted to follow on. Obviously, you had a couple of knocks last week, just before the Arsenal game. How are Abby and Kirsty doing, and what's the squad look like for this weekend?
Obviously, Alessia is a long-term one. We stated that at the weekend. And Abby and Kirsty were managing at the moment, so we won't know their availability until later on in the week.
And so I guess how pleasing off the back of that for Amy Turner to kind of step into that role with that armband on and put on an absolutely, like, she was heroic. She kind of like, she was captaining a picture really, wasn't she?
She was outstanding. She really was one of her best performances in a Man United shirt. And you know what she did? She did the basics really, really well. She won first contact. She got tight to the strikers, didn't let them turn. And I thought our entire back four did really, really well. Leah Galton sitting in at left back for us, and I think Ona switching to the right, and obviously Millie had a solid game as well. So, I said to them, yes, we won because we pressed really well. We minimised the spaces they had to play in, but we did the basics really well. We defended brilliantly. We picked up second balls better than they did. And ultimately, we got the goal that won the game.
Thanks, Casey. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Moving on to Susie.
Hi, Casey. Hope you're good. We had a chat with Katie Zellum earlier and talked about the players that played in the RTC and are still in the squad. How important was it for you to bring the likes of Katie, Millie, Emily, Ella, those lot into the fold, players that really understand what it means to wear the badge?
It was massive for me, because they know the club better than I did coming in. They know the culture, the history, what it takes, the values. And also, to bring them back because the club didn't have a women's team, so they went elsewhere. So to be able to give them the opportunity to play for the club they trained with as youngsters, was great. And also to have them here as a core part of the squad. They bring so much to this team, this squad, and our environment.
And obviously the team's only been around 3 years, but does that almost give you a sort of longer history in a way, having those players back in the fold? And does it add a bit of extra spice to the derby, having, real fans on the pitch of the club that really get what the game means?
Yeah, I think so. I think, listen, as Man United players and anybody coming into the club knows the values and the traditions, and they're kind of educated on that anyway. So, they'll be very aware it's a derby, but we try not to get caught up too much on the occasion. It's a game of football. We'll be prepared to play against 11 players that Man City put out. We want to go and win the game. And we always want to represent this football club by giving everything. And I don't think you can ever question that of any player in my squad.
Cheers, Casey.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susie. Alex?
Hi, Casey.
Hi, yeah.
Just a quick couple for me. So what's the feeling in the camp? What do you tell your players after a victory like Arsenal ahead of the City match?
Really honestly, I just said to them, this is not going to define our season. It is one game, and it matters little if we don't then go on and, potentially try and win the next one and even the next one. But we also recognise there's going to be setbacks throughout the season. But it was a good win. And I said to them, they worked for it. They outworked Arsenal. I thought, they really acquitted themselves well to the game plan. They executed, and it took everybody. The players coming on made a tremendous impact too. So it's about levelling them. Yes, enjoy the moment, but levelling them to make sure that we go back out on Saturday with a performance to win.
And on injuries, obviously Leslie Russo was a huge blow for the squad. But then you had other players like Ona Batlle. I mean, I believe she had one of the best players on the pitch after being out for over a month. How good does it make you feel to have a fit squad ahead of Saturday?
Yeah, it's good. It's great. It just means that we've got strength in depth. Like we could last weekend, we can bring players off the bench that can make a real difference. I'm a manager that makes changes at half time. I'm a manager that makes changes after 60, 70, 80 minutes. And obviously we've got the 5-sub rule now. So just being able to have that depth gives me the opportunity to make changes so that we can impact the game in a really positive way.
Good luck on the weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Molly Hudson?
Hi, Casey.
Hiya.
Kind of picking up what you were saying there about the depth. I think last season, if you kind of looked at United in the really big games with the Arsenals and the Man City, you were kind of able to hold them, and then there were fairly late goals that went in. How exciting is it for you as a manager to have those changes in that depth of the squad? But also, how does it challenge you as a manager to balance those players? Because, you look at the bench at the weekend and there were players that, would say, well, why aren't I starting, sort of thing. It's a different challenge, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think I always say, whether you're on the bench or you're starting, you've got a vital role for the team. You've just got a different role if you're starting or compared to be on the bench. So obviously all players want to play. And that's the hardest thing about management, is trying to make sure that those players that aren't starting week in, week out, stay valued, stay feeling part of the group, stay appreciated, and stay wanting to be part of it and still hungry for success for the team. So I always say, if you've got a recipe for that, you've got gold, because it's not easy, because that's why players want to play. But, you know that the 11 starting are going to be okay, so you try and concentrate more energy, more value, more time into those that aren't.
And Katie said earlier that of all the games that she'd played kind of in the C of E, the Manchester derby that she remembered the most was the game at the Etihad last season. And despite not winning that game, it was such a big moment for the club and the players and everyone. What are your reflections on those games against City last season?
We lost, so my reflections aren't really that great. Obviously, it's momentous. She was captain. She led a team out of the Etihad, 32,000 people. So as a player, it's an incredible moment for her, especially as a Manchester United player and a captain, to be able to do that. For me, it was the result that I'll focus on. Having said that, it was our first ever game in the Super League. We got put at the Etihad in front of 32,000 people, and I thought my team did amazingly well. So I was very proud of our first half performance, slightly disappointed with our second half performance, but I knew from that moment that we could compete in the Super League. So it was a really good gauge of where we were at.
Thank you. Good luck at the weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Molly. Isabel?
Hi, Casey. Thanks so much for
Hiya.
your time. Obviously, the club's been on a remarkable journey, and the players that we speak to about why they join the club is you're the reason for it. Even some players dropping down a league. But I was just so interested to know what your reason was for joining a club and what drew you to the club, considering obviously they hadn't had a women's side for a fair few years.
I think it's probably a couple of reasons, really, to be honest. The fact that it was Manchester United, in terms of the tradition, the history, the scale of the club, and that it was going to be a blank canvas. And I was going to get to build this club from the bottom up, in terms of the first team, to bring in the players that I wanted, embed the philosophy that I believe in, create an environment that I think will work. And the club have really allowed me to just get on with it. And be honest, they knew that I knew women's football better than they did. And they just supported me through that process. So I don't think it's a very unique opportunity. I don't think you ever get that in football, where you get to, every player's here because I chose them. Every staff member's here because I chose them. The philosophy we have is because it's the one I want to play, and the environment is the way it is because that's the way I want to run it. The staff members are here and they're empowered because I believe in that, and I believe in people. And you don't ever get that. So for me, it was just a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. It's obviously paid off, top of the league. Like, I don't know if possibly you may have seen Megan Rapinoe's comments about the club. Is on the other, off the back of that, is it just a huge testament to you guys that in such a short space of time, you are top of the league and doing so well? Yeah,
she's a bit too late. She's about 2 years too late for the comments, to be honest. But people are going to have their say, aren't they? It's a big club. When you go to Man United, you get used to that. So it's water off a duck's back to me, to be honest. And listen, I came in and obviously everyone criticised Man United for not having a women's team, but I know the reasons why. I know why they wanted to do it, when they wanted to do it, and how they wanted to do it properly. And it wasn't resourced in terms of staffing at the club beforehand for it to be able to be done the way it is now. And now I believe we're in a good place. I think we're doing things the right way. We are growing it slowly despite our quick progress. And listen, I'm immensely proud to be part of this football club. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for your time. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks as well. Last couple, so Catherine.
Hi, Casey. Susie mentioned earlier about adding spice to the derby. Obviously, you've got your former captain returning with Manchester City and Alex Greenwood, and a player that you know a lot about. No fans there to give her a reception, but I'm guessing you kind of want to get one over on her? Obviously, I'm sure you've got a lot of respect for her as a player, but it does add a little bit of spice to it as well.
I've got enormous respect for Alex, and when she left for an opportunity to go and win the Champions League, and she done that. And obviously, when she's come back, she's gone to Manchester City and she's doing well. She's won an FA Cup. Got nothing but respect. It's not, for me, it's never about getting one over on a player. It's about getting 3 points for this football club and making sure that we stay in and around the top 3.
That's it. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Finally, Glenn.
Hi, Casey.
Okay.
For following up on what Izzy was saying, if I can take you back to when you first joined the club, when you first approached, was it Ed Woodward himself who approached you? And what did the club promise you in terms of their commitment?
It was. I wasn't approached, really, to be honest. I'd heard about the opportunity through Phil, actually, when I was working with him, and I actually went through an interview process, and quite a stringent one. Probably, if I'm honest, Glenn, never expecting that I'd get the job. So when I'd heard I got the job, all the cogs were going about how I was going to do things, and then I did actually go to the London office and meet Ed, explain my vision for the women's team, and obviously gain an understanding of how the club were going to support me in achieving what I felt we could over the next few years, and what they were going to put in place around the women's team. And Man United works very differently, where actually we have a team wrapped around the team, and all the departments that work across the men's teams work across the women's teams too. So I've felt huge support from the day I walked in the door.
What's the next stage in terms of developing the team on and off the field?
I think we're constantly looking to improve in terms of our infrastructure and resource. We're always looking at what our training ground looks like, and that's a longer term plan to make sure that we've got our own training ground, and that's ongoing discussions at the club. Obviously, the pandemic has delayed things slightly, naturally as it would, because of the finances, and obviously making sure that we've got the right staff and on and off the pitch so that we can compete year in, year out.
Yeah, there's a lot of space at Carrington, I understand.
At the moment, it hasn't got capacity. It really hasn't. And I wouldn't want to be there if the capacity wasn't right, because I've always been, as a player, at grounds where you're not allowed in at certain times, you have to leave at certain times, you're not allowed to use these facilities, whereas the club know and are completely in agreement that if we move into Carrington and there is space there and we can get capacity there, it needs to be our facilities used at our times, to our schedule, and we're not adapting around anybody else, and the club are in complete support of that.
Great. Thanks for the time.
Thanks,
you.
Glenn. And finally, sorry, just one more. Jen?
Hiya. Everybody's asked sensible questions. So you said at the weekend you didn't recognise your team. Have you recognised them in training?
Say again?
You said after the Arsenal performance you didn't recognise your team. Have you recognised them in training?
Yeah, listen, they're always, I think, a hard-working team. But I think I just think on Sunday they showed what they're capable of, and it was a fantastic performance. But it's not something I don't see every day in training, so I know they're capable of it.
And finally, you seem to like sitting on the drinks box. Have you not thought of taking a cushion or something to make it a bit more comfortable?
I had to get a towel the other day because it got a bit wet. To be honest, it's a new way for me to just try and stay out the game a bit more, and sit down a little bit more. And obviously with COVID, I can't actually sit on the bench because you have to be 2 meters apart. So the drinks box works for me, and it means I can still be pitch side, but I can sit down.
Thank you, and have a good one at the weekend.
Cheers, Jen.
Great, thanks guys. I think we'll wrap it up. So just a reminder, opening section 6 p.m. tonight, second section